She arrived in a machine built to represent perfection. The red Ferrari 488 GTB slid through the streets of Munich like a promise fulfilled. Sunlight danced across its flawless curves, reflecting years of sacrifice back at the world. Pedestrians slowed. Drivers glanced twice. Some raised their phones, quietly recording proof that success did exist, even if it belonged to someone else. For Valentina Schmidt, the Ferrari was never about speed. It was about survival. 15 years earlier, she had stood in a cold garage, staring at a laptop balanced on a wooden table, wondering if she was making the biggest mistake of her life. Now she was here, CEO of TechVision Germany, a company valued at $150 million. The Ferrari was her private symbol. You endured. And yet, beneath the perfect exterior, hidden deep inside the engine, was a flaw so subtle that machines could not see it. A weakness that would soon challenge everything Valentina believed about competence, intelligence, and success. 7 certified Ferrari engineers would fail. 3 weeks of diagnostics would fail. $50,000 would vanish. And one man, with oil-stained hands and no formal education, would solve it in 30 seconds. Valentina Schmidt was born into a life that demanded effort. Her father, Wolfgang Schmidt, worked in a manufacturing plant on the outskirts of Berlin. Every morning before sunrise, he put on the same worn jacket, kissed his wife on the cheek, and caught the early bus to a world of noise, metal, and repetition. His hands were permanently rough, his fingernails stained despite constant washing. Her mother worked as a sales assistant in a neighborhood supermarket. Long shifts on her feet, endless polite smiles, customers who rarely noticed her name badge. They lived in a modest 70-square-meter apartment. 4 people, thin walls, old furniture. Privacy was a luxury. Comfort was earned, not assumed. But the apartment had something more valuable than space: discipline, honesty, and an unspoken rule. If you want more, you work harder. Valentina absorbed that rule early. While other children complained about homework, she treated it like a responsibility. While others dreamed of vacations, she dreamed of building something that belonged to her. She did not talk much. She observed. She learned. At school, Valentina was not the loudest student. She did not seek attention. But teachers noticed something different: focus. When she faced a problem, she didn't panic. She dissected it, step by step, piece by piece. That mindset led her to computer science. When she announced she would study engineering at the Technical University of Munich, people reacted with polite concern. "It's difficult," they said. "You'll have no life." They were right. University became a battlefield. By day, Valentina worked, tutoring, assisting professors, taking small jobs to pay rent. By night, she studied until her eyes burned and her thoughts blurred. There were weeks when she slept 3 hours a night, months when she forgot what weekends felt like. But something inside her refused to slow down. She wasn't chasing grades. She was chasing independence. When she graduated with honors, her parents cried quietly in the kitchen, not out of pride alone, but out of relief that their daughter might finally have an easier life. They were wrong. Valentina's first job was at a large software corporation. The office was modern. The salary was generous. The career path was clear. From the outside, it looked perfect. From the inside, it felt suffocating. Every day followed the same rhythm. Meetings filled with corporate language. Ideas filtered through layers of approval until they lost their meaning. Valentina felt her ambition shrinking. She watched talented people slowly stop caring. And she realized something frightening. Security was numbing her hunger. At 27, she made a decision that terrified everyone around her. She quit. Friends called her reckless. Colleagues shook their heads. Her parents said nothing, but the silence spoke loudly. Valentina felt fear, but she also felt free. Tech Vision did not begin with investors or applause. It began in her parents' garage. A single laptop, a borrowed desk, an idea that refused to leave her mind. She wanted to build enterprise management software that actually worked for people, intuitive, flexible, and human. The first year was brutal. No customers, no income, no validation. Savings evaporated. Friends stopped asking how the startup was going. At night, Valentina lay awake, staring at the ceiling, questioning every decision she had made. But every morning, she opened her laptop again. She improved the product. She refined the interface. She learned from every rejection. More than 100 companies said no. Then one small manufacturing firm said yes, a $5,000 contract. Valentina cried alone that night, not because of the money, but because someone finally believed. Success did not arrive suddenly. It crawled. One client became two became five. Each satisfied customer brought another. Word of mouth replaced cold calls. Years passed. Tech Vision expanded slowly, deliberately. Valentina hired carefully. She avoided shortcuts. She remembered where she came from. 15 years later, the numbers told a different story. A company valued at $150 million, 200 employees, offices in Berlin, Munich, and Hamburg. Clients included BMW, Siemens, and Deutsche Bank. Valentina Schmidt became a respected CEO. She was invited to conferences. She spoke about leadership, discipline, and resilience. People admired her calm. She was always punctual, always prepared, always in control. Control was her armor, and nothing challenged it until the Ferrari. 6 months earlier, Valentina had bought the Ferrari 488 GTB. Red, flawless, powerful. It was not an impulse purchase. She stood in the showroom, staring at it, remembering every moment she had almost quit. The Ferrari was not about showing off. It was a quiet conversation with her past self. We survived. For 2 months, the car was perfect. Then came the morning that would change everything. Valentina was driving to an important meeting in Munich. The traffic light turned green. She pressed the accelerator. The engine died. No warning, no strange sound, just silence. Cars honked. Drivers shouted. Her heart raced. 5 minutes later, the engine restarted as if nothing had happened. She arrived late. For the first time in years, Valentina Schmidt was not in control. And this was only the beginning. The second breakdown happened 2 days later. She was driving alone on the Autobahn, cruising at a steady speed. The engine purred with confidence, the kind of sound that reassured you everything was engineered to perfection. Then, without warning, the dashboard lights flickered. The temperature gauge spiked, and the engine shut down. No explosion, no grinding noise, just silence again. Valentina pulled over, heart pounding. She checked the time. 7 minutes. That was how long it took before the engine restarted. 7 minutes of helpless waiting. 7 minutes where her mind, trained to solve complex systems, could find no explanation. By the third incident, Valentina stopped calling it coincidence. She began documenting everything: ambient temperature, driving duration, speed, fuel level. A pattern emerged. The failure always happened when the engine temperature reached exactly 105 degrees Celsius. Not higher, not lower. Exactly. Machines were precise. So was this problem. Ferrari Munich received the car with professional confidence. White gloves, polished floors, technicians who spoke with authority. They ran diagnostics, updated software, checked sensors. Nothing. The system reported perfection. No error codes, the lead engineer said calmly. It's functioning exactly as designed. Valentina frowned. It shuts down at 105 degrees. The engineer smiled politely. That's impossible. She left unconvinced. The fourth breakdown happened the next day. Valentina returned. This time, Ferrari flew in specialists from Italy. 7 engineers, 3 weeks. The car was dismantled and rebuilt with surgical precision. Valentina waited and waited. When they finally handed the keys back, the confidence was absolute. Everything has been tested, they assured her. She drove 10 kilometers. The engine died at 105 degrees. For the first time in her career, Valentina raised her voice. "Then your tests are wrong," she said. The room went quiet. The problem escalated. Independent specialists, aftermarket diagnostics, custom software. Each attempt came with a new invoice, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000. The total crossed $50,000. Nothing changed. The Ferrari remained unpredictable. Valentina stopped driving it. The car sat in her private garage, flawless on the outside, useless within. For the first time in years, she felt something unfamiliar. Doubt. Not doubt in the car, doubt in herself. One evening, Valentina visited her parents. Her father listened quietly as she explained the situation. After a long pause, he said, "Maybe you're asking the wrong people." She frowned. "They're the best in the world." Wolfgang shrugged. Best on paper doesn't always mean best in reality. Valentina felt irritation rise. "This isn't a factory problem, Papa. This is advanced engineering." Her father looked at her hands. Clean, unmarked. "Machines speak," he said softly, "but only if you've learned their language." The comment lingered longer than she expected. A week later, Valentina's driver mentioned a small garage outside the city. "An old mechanic," he said. "People say he fixes what others can't." Valentina hesitated. She researched. No website, no certifications, no awards, just a name. Thomas Müller. She almost dismissed it. Almost. The garage was nothing like the Ferrari service center. Oil-stained floor, tools scattered everywhere. A single man stood beneath a lifted engine. Thomas Müller was in his mid-30s. Dark hair, calloused hands, eyes sharp with experience. Valentina introduced herself. He nodded. "No computers?" she asked, noticing the absence of screens. Thomas wiped his hands. "I listen first," he said. She almost laughed. Valentina started the engine. Thomas crouched beside the car. He closed his eyes. 30 seconds passed. He stood. "Your problem isn't mechanical," he said. "It's logical." She stiffened. "Explain." "Thermal expansion mismatch," he continued. "One sensor bracket expands faster than its housing. At 105 degrees, it shifts just enough to send a false shutdown signal." Valentina froze. No one had mentioned that. Thomas shrugged. "I've seen it before. Rare. Factory oversight." He tightened a bolt. "Try now." The engine ran. 100, 102, 105. Nothing happened. The Ferrari purred. Valentina stared. "How much?" she asked quietly. Thomas named a price that barely covered the cost of dinner. Valentina paid him double. As she drove away, something inside her shifted. For 15 years, she had believed success came from credentials. But standing in that garage, she realized something else. Wisdom doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes it smells like oil. Valentina watched Thomas carefully. She saw talent, precision, and intuition in his every movement. He had solved a problem that 7 certified engineers failed to fix. In 30 seconds. That was rare. That was genius. Valentina watched Thomas carefully. She saw talent, precision, and intuition in his every movement. He had solved a problem that 7 certified engineers failed to fix. In 30 seconds. That was rare. That was genius. "Thomas," she said finally, "I have a proposal. Join TechVision, lead our fleet maintenance, supervise our in-house mechanics, and train young technicians. $5,000 a month, plus bonuses, plus benefits." Thomas blinked. I don't know. I have my workshop, my family legacy. My grandfather and father built it. I can't just leave." Valentina smiled. "You won't leave it. You'll preserve it, but you'll also grow, lead, and influence more people than a small garage ever could." Thomas hesitated. Doubts swirled. "I don't have a degree, no certifications. I'm just a mechanic." Valentina laughed gently. "Just a mechanic. You solved in 10 minutes what 7 engineers couldn't in 3 weeks. Experience and talent are worth more than any diploma." He thought about it long into the night. Could he leave the comfort and familiarity of the small workshop for the unknown corporate world? The fear was real, but so was the opportunity. A day later, Thomas called Valentina. "I accept. 6-month trial period. If I can't manage, I return to my workshop." Valentina's smile radiated triumph. Welcome to TechVision. Thomas's first day was overwhelming. Modern offices, sleek desks, employees in suits, computers everywhere. He felt like a fish out of water. Valentina guided him personally, explaining processes, systems, and corporate culture. Within the first week, Thomas assessed the company's vehicle fleet, 50 cars, vans, and service vehicles. He quickly identified inefficiencies, unnecessary expenses, and risks. "We can save $150,000 annually," he told Valentina confidently. She nodded, impressed. "Then make it happen." By the 3rd week, Thomas had set up a small internal workshop within TechVision. He trained 3 young technicians, implemented standardized maintenance procedures, and introduced preventive measures. 3 months later, costs had dropped, quality improved, and fleet downtime decreased dramatically. Valentina saw something extraordinary. Thomas wasn't just a mechanic. He was a natural leader, a problem solver, and a teacher. Valentina pushed further. "Thomas, your skills shouldn't be limited to our company. You can create a consulting service, train other workshops, and expand your influence." Thomas hesitated. The idea terrified him. Corporate bureaucracy, managing a team, accountability, all foreign concepts. Yet Valentina's belief was unwavering. 6 months trial. If it works, you continue. If not, you return. No pressure. 6 months later, Muller Automotive Solutions was born. Offices in Berlin and Munich, 15 technicians, 10 contracts, $4 million in annual revenue. Thomas had transformed from a humble mechanic to a CEO, but he never forgot his roots. He still returned to the original garage, still taught apprentices, and instilled the lesson that competence is earned through experience, passion, and dedication, not diplomas. The lessons of the Ferrari, of TechVision, of Muller Automotive Solutions were clear. True competence comes not from titles, degrees, or prestigious certifications. It comes from mastery, experience, and relentless dedication. Valentina reflected on her journey. From a garage girl to a $150 million CEO, she had learned to recognize potential beyond credentials. Thomas reminded her that the world was full of hidden talent, and that seeing it and nurturing it was as valuable as any financial success. At company meetings, Thomas shared his philosophy. He taught young technicians how to listen to engines, feel vibrations, and anticipate failures. He emphasized humility, curiosity, and dedication. Employees who had once seen him as just a mechanic now viewed him as a visionary. His story inspired everyone at TechVision, a living testament that unconventional talent can reshape industries. Thomas never sought fame, yet his reputation grew organically. Other companies sought his expertise. Training programs expanded. Workshops across Germany began adopting his preventive maintenance system. Muller Automotive Solutions became synonymous with excellence. Valentina watched with pride. She had not just solved a mechanical problem, she had unlocked potential. She realized that leadership was not about enforcing authority, but about creating opportunities for talent to flourish. Years later, Valentina and Thomas stood beside the original red Ferrari. The car was no longer a source of frustration. It was a symbol of transformation. "Remember the first day?" Valentina asked. Thomas laughed. "I thought I would fail. I never imagined I'd be here." "You didn't fail," Valentina said. "You listened, you acted, you trusted your experience. That's why you succeeded. The Ferrari purred to life, perfectly smooth, a reminder of what passion and dedication could achieve. Thomas's story spread far beyond tech vision. It became a tale of perseverance, humility, and the power of practical knowledge. He taught everyone that expertise is more than credentials. Passion beats privilege. Dedication transforms challenges into opportunities. Valentina often shared the story at conferences. True success, she said, is recognizing talent wherever it exists and giving it a chance to shine. The impossible Ferrari had tested Valentina Schmidt, Thomas Müller, and even the very limits of engineering logic. Yet in failure, it revealed brilliance. In frustration, it revealed opportunity. And in ordinary hands, it revealed extraordinary competence. For viewers watching this story today, take the lesson with you. Look beyond appearances, respect experience, and never underestimate the power of passion. True competence comes not from titles, but from what you do when it truly counts. If this story reminded you of the power of persistence, passion, and recognizing hidden talent, leave a comment below about where you watch this video. Like, share, and subscribe to Momentum Stories for more tales that celebrate real-life heroes, authentic skill, and human potential. Remember, the next extraordinary talent might be right in front of you, just waiting for someone to believe.